So good day, Stephen. I am Alida Hernandez with Nuestro Magazine, and here in Fort Lauderdale right now. And I was very intrigued about your books. You're an author. How long have you been an author for?
Since the fifth grade.
Oh, wow. So you always like to write.
Well, yeah, there was a few detours along the way, but but it was always there. Happy to be on your show. I'm very jealous of you being in Fort Lauderdale. Up here in Montana, it was spring yesterday, and it's now winter again today. So,
Oh, wow. Well, we have weird weather too right now. It's been raining for days, which
oh,
has
no,
been
no.
strange. I mean, it's been raining so much of the parking lot flooded. I got water coming in through the studio. So, and it's not even hurricane season yet. So I'm a little nervous.
Oh my gosh.
So, but the weather here, it was super hot this morning. The sun was out and it must have been 86 degrees. And now it just dropped like 20 degrees because of the rain. It's
The
so
weather
strange.
The weather is nuts. We used to live in Lake Tahoe up in
Oh,
California.
I've been there.
It's just beautiful. We lived there
Yeah.
for almost 12 years. And a big snowfall was 2 or 3 feet. Once we got 4 feet, but they've had like 80 feet of snow this year. It's crazy. You can't do
Yeah,
anything.
I've heard people have been snowed out in a lot of parts of California, up in the mountains. I used to live in California myself many years
Oh,
ago. Yeah.
it was
So,
it was great. It was great then.
yeah, not now.
Not now.
Not now. It's the same thing with New
No.
York too. I'm from New York originally, so I'm happy I'm gone
Oh,
too.
totally. Yeah, different world.
It is a different world. Since 2020, everything is different now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So how did you start on this trilogy? Basically, you have three books. I see them behind you. You started it with part one, part two, and book three, basically. And the one that I got was about the trouble with miracles. And I
Yes.
and I guess it just caught my attention because you were talking about certain things. I mean, I'm guessing it's all a fiction book, but you do a lot of research and put a lot of there's some truth behind some of the things you write, correct?
The books are thoroughly researched. I don't mean to be, but I'm a voracious researcher. I get to a point and I have to explain something. And I go, well, I can't fake it. I got to know what I'm talking about. So, but thank goodness that's kind of the good side of technology is there's a lot of information at your fingertips. The books, I should point out, are standalone. In other words, you
Okay.
don't have to read one or two. Everybody that reads one wants to read the others, thankfully, or that's the comments I get. But the book three, The Trouble with Miracles, is about the discovery of the ancient secret to fusion energy and a desperate race to keep it out of the wrong hands that ranges from Chile's high northern desert, the Atacama Desert, which is fascinating, and all the way to Easter Island and the magic and mystery of the Easter Island statues. And when I started the book, I really wanted it to end with Easter Island and make a plausible explanation of what the heck those mysterious romantic statues are really all about. And it did work out that way. Like all my books, they're all grounded in fiction. They're grounded in reality. This third one is about Chile's inexorable drive to control all the world's natural resources. But each of them has an element of fiction in it that's fiction today and could very well be reality tomorrow. In this particular one, it happens to be fusion energy. Now, you may recall that very recently, the Lawrence Livermore Laboratory in California developed fusion for the first time here on Earth. It was only momentarily, but it was a big deal because they've been trying for decades to do it. Now, the rest of the Lawrence Livermore Laboratory in Northern California's name is ... for the development of nuclear weapons.
Mm.
So this raises a real moral question in the book, as well as in reality, is given the nascent state of the human species. In other words, we're really barely wet behind the gills from crawling out of the, a snowy swamp or whatever you have down. Is mankind really ready to be responsible for something so powerful that could, it could solve air pollution and global warming, whatever that is or isn't, forever. But it's also something so powerful that could turn the earth to space dust in a heartbeat. So, the first thing they did with the atomic bomb, with atomic energy, is they made the atomic bomb. Now, I'm not arguing we didn't need to end World War II, but my good heavens, we vaporized 2 Japanese cities, and that was just one isolated incident. Fusion is it's inexorable. It's such an incredible power. But I should say, in spite of all the wonderful, and each book has a whole new cast of wonderful characters. But I should say that all this is background, because what we really care about is the characters and the people, and that's what whether we realize it or not, that's who we're following in a book. Whether we like it or not, we like these people. We care about what happens to them. So so I really write characters, but the whole, and I with these backgrounds of the in each of the books, and we could talk about those if you like, but the backgrounds are grounded in reality, and they make important points. But the point I wanted to make was these are not derivative books. In other words, they don't look like anything else anybody else has written, and that's what I try to do. I try to write different stuff, and I have a lot of readers who remark on that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I have to get the books and get reading myself. But I mean, it's great to just continue having books, because so many people right now, people stay away from books. Everybody's on the computer, all the digital stuff, and having a live book makes such a difference.
It really does. It's you just go to a different world and have a different experience, and live with different people. And and like you say, it's hard to sit down and start your book, because life just has so many distractions.
Oh, I've been trying to do that. I got a book the other day that I actually found in my cabinet, and I said, "Where'd this come from?" And then I looked, it was signed by the author. I go, "Wait a second, it's even signed by the author. Did I get this?" And I'm like trying to think when I met them, and I couldn't think about it. And I've been so busy. I think I've made it to like page 3, because I keep getting interrupted and I can't find a spot. So sometimes I come here to the studio by myself and just crawl in a corner and try to read.
Yeah. And so many of the ladies that I speak to or communicate with on Instagram, they've found that world, that notch, their little secret corner, and they just live for their books. I have too much. You have too much going on in your life, and I do too. You can't just dive into books and let the rest of the world go away. But it's a nice thought. Also, do you need to do something?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Sorry. Let me just pause it, because somebody's up knocking at my door. Here, and we will continue.
I had a thought. If you don't mind bringing it up, I hear in your voice the Hispanic accent, or the Hispanic background, and this wasn't entirely intentional, but book 1 and book 3 have really important Hispanic, or at least Spanish elements to them. The first book, The Canistar Factor, which is about an inexpensive organically grown cure for viral diseases, everything from cancer to coronavirus, that big pharma makes illegal. Now that that has so the protagonists have to go through a tremendous effort not to get arrested by the federal government for growing this cure for viruses. That's sort of like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. It's exactly like that. Although this was written long before that came up, but the point is that at some point they go to Mexico and get involved with a very, very dangerous drug dealer and involve the narcotraficanos with distributing an illegal drug, but now this is a drug that helps people. And this major narcotics trafficker, he has this huge heart attachment to children that are suffering from terminal cancer and diseases. And he has this, they're in the jungle, and it's like this huge Disneyland amusement park in jungle for these kids. And this guy's a terrible, nefarious drug dealer, but it's really interesting, I think, to write really bad guys with three-dimensional personalities. They really do. Now, again, I'm kind of moving all around, but in the third book that takes place in Chile, that's the Spanish is the language down there, and it has a huge Spanish. It's all, the whole place is the history is apart from the Incan is Spanish. But interestingly enough, Spanish speakers go down there and cannot understand a word the Chileans are speaking.
It's all our different dialects. It's unbelievable. The Spanish dialect.
Yeah.
My family's from Puerto Rico, so we have our own little Spanish, right? Then you have Spain, which is like the origin, they say, from Spain, which is a different dialect. Then you have every country. Mexico is completely different because they have a whole nother language because they have a lot of Indian.
You said Puerto Rico. I like that.
Try to roll my R's. Like I said, I'm a New Yorican, so I was born in New York, and that's what New Yorican. So I'm the first generation of my parents. I was born in New York. My parents were born in Puerto Rico. My grandparents and my great grandparents.
Oh,
so
fascinating. I love different cultures. I love different,
Well, it's good to to put the American culture with the Spanish culture, because we have different things and just all cultures. So just an example, here at the studio, I have different events. So I've had Jamaican events, I'm having Haitian events, and it's been awesome because I love learning about the other cultures and how similar we are. So like the people from the island, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Dominican Republic, all the islands, we have very similar cultures. We all stem from kind of the same Caribbean Indian that was in the island. So it's really interesting how that even though we might look a little different because of different influence of the French or the Africans or whatever other cultures come to the island, right, that dominated more. So for example, like Jamaicans mostly Black, right? Versus like Puerto Rico, we're very mixed. Even though we actually have, I think they say there's more percentage of white than Black in Puerto Rico, but we still have a good percentage because of all the mixtures.
And the DR, the Dominican Republic, is about 1/4 Black and 3/4 Spanish,
Yep.
But it really brings up an important point about all of this diversity that's being shoved down our throat, which just alienates everybody, it's the opposite effect. But the truth is, if you take government out of all of the cultures and you just put the people together, we all like each other,
Yeah.
I guarantee if you met somebody from Russia, they'd break your heart. They'd be so nice. Or the Chinese are the most industrial, entrepreneurial people you ever met.
Oh yeah, there's good in everything and bad in everything, right?
There is, but you remove that upper level of the government propaganda and brainwashing and all that nonsense, and you just talk to the guy across the street, and he's a hell of a nice guy.
Exactly. I was having a conversation with some friends, so a few of us, that we grew up in New York. When I was a kid, growing up, I was born in 65. So segregation ended in the beginning of the 60s. So I went through racism as a child, not knowing what the heck it was. I didn't understand why as a child people would look at me funny. because I had curly hair at the time and I have a little color, you know, I'm not white, I'm not black. They don't know what the heck I am. You know what I mean? They really didn't. People were like, what are you? What do you mean, what am I? I'm a human being. What are you talking
No,
about?
I'm a person.
I'm a person. But
Right.
back then, I mean, people talk about it now, but back then there was racism, but it wasn't really racism. It was really ignorance. I call it ignorance. It's not racism. I'm not against you because you're white. I'm not against you because you're a color. It's just ignorance that people have. I'm not no
Yeah.
understanding another culture.
And all of this anger is fueled by the media. You know, it's
Oh
got
yeah.
everybody hating everybody. It's just awful. And it's so sad when it's so easy to like everybody, like each other, uh, for for
Exactly.
for for what they are. You know?
Exactly. So that's why people have to get reading more books so they can get out of the TV, except
Yeah.
for watching our interviews.
Except for watching an interview. But I think things like podcasts and books are going to become more and more relevant and important for entertainment because of the imploding economy. And you just can't afford. I mean, the generations of kids now don't go to movies. I mean, I grew up going to movies
Yeah.
every week. You can't afford it anymore, and it's really a shame. People with this horrible inflation, excuse me, people are dropping more and more things. I know people who work at these big box convenience stores. All of their sales are down tremendously, and I think people are just cutting back to essentials, and they're dropping streaming services, and they're not buying the $75,000 pickup truck. So, but what you can buy is a $295 ebook. You
Yep.
know, I mean, and have several days of or nights of entertainment. So the only point I was saying was that I think things like we're doing will become more and more popular entertainment
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's
And that's
affordable.
exactly what I try to do because I have the magazine, but I find that even though writing is great, but people want to see you. They want to know who you are. They want to see like the person. They want to like touch, feel, you know, like get to know you a little better
Yeah,
besides the page. So I try to
and that
add
doesn't
now
cost
into
anything.
no, exactly. So I try to add the interviews and the article together, so that way there's a combination. As well as I have a wellness podcast that I do called Rebooted the Podcast. And on my podcast, I talk about different things in wellness, holistic medicine.
Really,
Yeah, because
really.
I had a stroke 6 years ago and I had to change my life. It was either live or die. So I decided to live and decide and change my whole life, my health, what I eat,
In your diet,
and
huh?
my diet. Food is everything. Food is
It is.
everything.
And sugar
Oh,
is the killer of all killers. I
and it's
mean, I think
highly addicting too.
oh, are you kidding me? Totally.
Yep.
And it's responsible for the diabetes and the obesity and so many of those diseases. So those are such important subjects. And so yeah, that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
That's what I try
Wonderful.
to do is just put out there different things to help other people. I talk about mindset, about changing your thought process, what you read, what you listen to, all that influences you.
Yeah.
So, you
And,
know,
and you give people the support to get out of their eating rut or their lifestyle rut and get healthy. I just keep looking at that studio in the background and I think
mhm.
of all the really cool music that must come through that place, from the different cultures. I mean, that must
Yeah.
be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've been having some fun. We've had, like I said, Jamaican music. We're having a big party next month, a Haitian party. So I'm looking forward. They're gonna have a band, so I can't wait. And I've heard some of the Haitian music. It's pretty good because it's almost like the Spanish salsa. It has a lot of that rhythm. It has some
Yeah.
rhythm because they use the same congas. They use kind of the same percussions in the music. So I'm looking forward to that. We had a rock concert here. That was it was wild, but it was great. Like young youth, the youth. I love seeing all this talent that we have here just locally in Fort Lauderdale. all this talent is coming from here, which is amazing.
It really is, and you know that's nothing new. I lived much of my life in major ski areas, and there would always be these groups come through, and you know we'd go out, and they would blow you away with how good they are. You never heard of them before, and many of them you never heard of again. But there is so much talent out there that just is looking for a voice and a venue and just a place to. And again, that brings us back to the social media and the TikTok and the YouTube and everything. So it's but you know, as I don't have to tell you, it's a lot of work, you know, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of trial and error. But if you can find your niche, and find a way to talk to people and be yourself, I'm practicing.
You're practicing. I'm always practicing. So,
yeah.
So from these three, I mean, how many books have you written? Like published? You have hundreds, or how many books do you have?
Yeah.
You have to think about the number, huh?
I've written a bunch. I spent a whole year on one that was my only failure. I had to set that aside. I wrote a dystopian thriller when I was a self-published author that I am in the process of rewriting. The new title is All Systems Have Failed, and it's kind of a modern 1984. So taking everything now, all the negative, and taking it to its logical conclusion, where there is where you know America becomes a third world, and there's just the walled-ins, which are the people there in it, and then there's and people are controlled using food as a means of control.
And they try to do that with the toilet paper, didn't they?
Yeah. America was brought to its knees
because there was no toilet paper.
By single ply.
I'm like, go get a palm leaf. We have a lot of palm trees in Florida, so you know.
Yeah, well, hey, it could be worse, right?
Exactly.
Watch out for alligators.
Yeah, iguanas. I got iguanas swimming in my pool, and they come through the fence.
Every time my wife is just desperate, just so much wants me to go, and I don't resist it, to the Galapagos, you know, one of those.
Oh, I want to go. That's on my bucket list.
Oh, total bucket list. But every time she sees a picture of an iguana, she almost has a heart attack. Oh my God, what are we gonna do?
They don't do nothing. I know people are so afraid of them. They're just big lizards. Actually, the iguanas, I find them so interesting because I see them and I see the different sizes, and you can see their age. Like the older ones are more brown, they're not green. When they're babies, they're bright green. So I had 3 little babies that just hatched somewhere around my house because they were on top of my screen of my pool, and they were like they were this big. They were this big, and I go, oh great, where's Papa? And then we see the big ones. They're like, I don't know, they get to be about maybe 3 feet. Well, their bodies themselves about 3 feet long, and then their tails another 3 feet. So they get pretty big.
They're gigantic, and you know they're so prehistoric. They're like alligators. Yeah. It's cool to look at them and just imagine a whole world, you know, of a Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
you know,
they look like little dinosaurs. That's what I say. They're like,
and that's what they are. They are. They're the descendants, the survivors. I've been trying to figure out which way the whales are going. You know, you know, are you guys going in the water or are you going out of the water? But you know, you asked me about the other thing I was writing. I got to tell you about this because it's really, really important. I have written a major work of upmarket fiction that I've had in my drawer for some time, and I'm now made it enough of a success of this 3-book thriller series that I can now, and I have an agent and I have a very supportive publisher, but I now need a umbrella publisher in one of the big 5 for this book, because it's the thing that's going to be my signature. As much as everybody likes these books, these thriller books, this is my signature book. It's called and again, nobody's seen it. I haven't passed it out, but we're just about to launch a major campaign to get the publisher for it. It's called Passengers in Time. And it's about the past and present lives of the two main characters and how our past lives impact our present lives, and how the people from our past lives will show up in this life and give us a chance to get right what we didn't get right the last time around. And the book is it's a page turner from page one, but it's a different kind of book. It's more of a all the light we cannot see kind of, best-selling novel. So it really needs right now, the publisher I have is wonderful, but he's small. He doesn't do all of that pre-publication promotion that's necessary for the pre-release of the book, meaning 6 months before, you got to send it out to all the major publications, USA Today and Wall Street Journal and New York Times and so forth. So you get those reviews before it's ever published. Then a whole bunch of people have to pre-order it so that the day that it gets released, it's right up there so that's what I need for this book, and I'm not going to turn it loose until I get that. So that's the next thing, Passengers in Time.
Oh, that sounds interesting, because I talk about on my podcast, I talk to different people that do meditation and different types of techniques, and that's one subject that I haven't touched yet. I'm going to past lives. There are people out there that like in tune, like help you like get to understand or open your mind so you can find out who you were in your past life.
Yes.
And because our soul, that's us, right, is energy. So the energy keeps moving.
It is. Absolutely.
So we are energy. So learning that, I've learned now to really open my mind, be open-minded, and to learn so much. And it's helped me so much to expand my intelligence and just my ability to live better. Really.
My wife had a death experience, a near-death experience, and she died and came, and she said to me today, she said the perfect words, and it was so cool. She said at breakfast this morning, she said, "Death is not the end." And who knows what it looks like or feels like, or the experience of our energy system moving on and becoming part of it, part of something new. But it's real and it exists. And just because you can't see it and touch it doesn't mean it's not real.
Exactly. And people just have to be able to, I tell people, if you're ignorant, if you have the phone and you have internet, you can look up anything you want. So I don't understand people that don't know things. Like people ask me questions. I go, do I look like Google? Just Google the thing. Go on some application, open your phone and say, hey, I need this. And it comes up with it. And now with AI, that's become another whole nother story.
That's a amazing thing, isn't it? I mean, if Elon Musk is scared, I'm scared. I mean, I really, but the concept was really well dramatized 40 years ago in Arnie's movie, The Terminator. I mean, that was what it was all about. Is AI got to such a point that it decided it didn't need the human race, and they developed all these machines to take them out.
Yep.
And so they send somebody back from the future to stop this now, to stop AI from coming. I mean, it's the perfect. The Terminator series was perfect.
Terminator, Total Recall was another one. And I tell people, I said, if you go back and see those movies, you remember they had smart homes. Everything was controlled by the computer. And now everybody, I have a smart home. I go, guess what? If they want to lock you out of your house, you're in trouble. How are you going to get in?
Yeah.
If you have a smart home. So all these things are coming up and people don't see it. Like I talked about the Jetsons. Remember the Jetsons, the cartoon?
Yeah.
They had the first Zoom. Don't you remember? He would call him. He would call Jetson at home and he would see him.
No, that wasn't the first. Dick Tracy had the
watch. That's right, Dick Tracy. Oh, wow. Wow, even more back. Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that, man.
Yeah, I forgot about Dick Tracy. Yeah. But I'm just saying it's been showing up in our lives over the last, before even we had computers,
And
before
yeah, go ahead.
before we
That's
had
the
computer
wonderful
PCs.
thing about the human imagination is you imagine it, and that's how you bring it into reality. When I was a kid, I'd go around the house. I mean, Destination Moon was a 50s movie, and it was so, you look at it now and you go, oh my God, it's corny. But it wasn't to a little kid. And I'd go around the house going 10, 9, 8, 7, blast off until my parents just made them crazy. But a minute later, Neil Armstrong's walking on the moon. And it was that imagination, that creativity that brought us forward, and that technology, and that's all of that carries us forward into the future. That's the good news of the AI. But I just don't know
Yeah.
how scared to be about this AI.
I don't know yet. I'm using it and things that help me tremendously and on some things, but yeah, I get concerned about that, but I guess hopefully it doesn't happen in our generation now. We won't be around.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but my kids will be here.
We won't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I just worry about my sons that are young in their 20s and what's going on and
It's tough. It's really tough. I every generation has its challenges, but
exactly.
I think these guys got more than most.
But I've had a great conversation with you. I'm looking forward to getting all these books and deep dive into them and getting lost in the book. And good luck with you with everything and congratulations on all your hard work that you've been doing since 5th grade, writing books.
Since 5th grade, I'd get up and read my Superman stories to the class.
Uh,
And then one day I wrote Superman into such a corner that I didn't know how to get him out. And it wasn't until 50 years later that I got Superman out from under that mountain of rock. And then my writing career really took off. So, but he was
That's
stuck.
great.
He was stuck. I was stuck anyway.
I mean, I get stuck just trying to write one press release. I don't know how you can write a book. Everybody keeps telling me, like they said, if you write like a page a day, like I started writing stuff because I wanted to write a book. And so I've been writing like little things in there. Sometimes I record myself when I think of something and I write it down and I save it. And then I go back and read it. I go, oh, I wrote that? Like unbelievable. Sometimes when you write in the middle of the night.
It made a lot more sense than you thought it.
Yeah.
But you know what I found is, and this is important to remember, is it's not there until it's there. It's not there until you need it. In other words, the next sentence isn't there until you're ready for the next, or the solution isn't there. So don't make yourself nuts because you can't think of everything before you sit down and write. Just sit down and start doing it. And it, build it and they will come. Write it and it will come. So.
I think that's what happens. I guess we give ourselves so much pressure. Like you get the pen and you're like, sometimes when you plan to write, it doesn't work right that way. It has to be the flow. So sometimes I'm in the car and I start thinking about something. I'm like, oh, and then I have to say it or write it down really fast because it's gonna go away.
It's so hard to get out of your own way,
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a learning process but so anyway, well, thank you very much for your time. It was awesome.
Don't forget, you can get my books on Amazon or wherever books are sold.
Yes, and I'm going to put all your links on there. You're on Amazon and I'll get all your information so I can put it down and everybody can see it.
You're wonderful. You're delightful. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Have a great day. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.